Maeve, you are diocesan reader in TKA. You're also starting your studies to be an ordained local minister, a priest in the diocese, and that's starting in September. Folks will know you from having seen you about the diocese, particularly in the parishes of Auchival and Kilmore Moy, but not exclusively so. I mean, you've been in Tuam and Cong, for example, and Clifton and what have you. But most of your work has been done in and around Dugert and St Thomas's Parish in Dugert. And the Bishop has asked you to head up a new project there, which sprang out of our Fresh Expressions discussions down through the years. And it also came about based really on what some of us saw in Kenya, in the Diocese of Kajiado, where CMS had a big tract of land that they weren't using, and they were wondering what to do with it, and they decided that they would try to build a shopping centre of all things, not too far away from Nairobi. And it was a visionary project, and it sort of made some of us think, well, why can't we do something similar back home? Not necessarily in a shopping centre, as we'll find out later, but why can't we have that sort of vision and put what we have to better use for the glory of God and the furtherance of the kingdom and the advancement of the diocese as well, I suppose, in some ways. And we came home and we kicked it about, and we came up with this project that the Bishop has now put you in charge of getting off the ground and actually making something of it. Maybe you'd like to tell us some of the beginnings of it, where it came from, and where you see it going.
Certainly. Well, for me the beginnings of it was when the idea of providing a sort of situation in which people who may be not necessarily churchgoers of a regular Sunday basis, but still very much in search of the spiritual in their life, could come and find a quiet time or find fellow folk to discuss with and debate with, and how that would fit in very nicely with the Fresh Expressions idea. And so this would be centred. It will travel, if necessary, to other places to sort of do workshops and things, but basically it will be centred in and around Dugert, which has a long history in the Church of Ireland going right back to the mission times. And as it happened, the building that used to be the old schoolhouse in Dugert and the schoolmaster's house beside it, which date from the original mission there, came up for sale. And it was the ideal venue to be able to provide a centre for locals, but also for people who could come on residentials. And so the plans started from there. And so St Thomas's Parish, which is the parish next door to this school, have made an offer which has been accepted for the hall. And it's a nice loop in history because we're actually buying something that originally belonged to the Church of Ireland.
Yeah.
And so we're buying it back again. And the centre is going to be there. We will have a certain small amount of residence space in the house next door, and we have already made arrangements with some of the local people and the people who have holiday homes very near the church, who will allow us to use their places in the winter for residential.
Good. You have a name for this, don't you?
Yes, it's called The Sacred Path. The idea being that our spiritual journey through life is a pathway, and it's ongoing. Sometimes it does loops, but it's ongoing. Mm-hmm. And there are things that happen in life that sometimes we're just too busy to stop and see, or they're so obvious, or so we're so used to them that we kind of ignore them. But so we would like to provide in a way in the Sacred Path are stepping stones where people can stop and for a minute and sort of see, okay, well, that's something I could be involved in, that's something I'd like. No, I just want quiet time out to just have a wee conversation with God, whichever. The other great thing that was there right from the beginning was that this would be a wider scope, open to a wider scope of people than just Church of Ireland, and so it's multi-denominational, and we already have bookings from some other groups who have made bookings already for next year when we open.
Very good. And what sort of things to try and tie it down,
Yeah.
what sort of things do you see as being part of the Sacred Path programme? What will it offer?
Well, the Sacred Path programme will offer some things that will be local, just because we are situated out on an island, but there's a very good ecumenical spirit that goes on Achill, but particularly between those from the Catholic Church and the Church of Ireland, and people support each other and do things together. So I've been sort of asking around a little bit what people will be looking for, and there's a big request in that some form of sort of programme to introduce people to what Celtic spirituality is all about.
Okay.
So that's already a definite that will happen in the first term we open, and it might be once a week for 8 weeks or whatever, to be repeated as necessary. The other thing that there's been quite an amount of requests for is meditation space, that will be maybe once a fortnight or so, maybe once a week if it's needed, but let's start with once a fortnight. That people will come just maybe for totally quiet meditation or for a gently guided meditation. And so we're going to make available some CDs and some things that people can take away with them. And this structure will be for people who are already used to doing meditation, and also for people to whom this is a whole new experience.
Right. Right.
Then the other big aspect, two big aspects were, one was pilgrimage and one was retreats.
Okay, talk a bit about the pilgrimage, because the Camino is a big thing in Spain, northern Spain, and bits of southern France as well.
That's right.
I've certainly met people on the Camino when I visited France, and they seem to be really taken, and people come back again and again and again to do little bits rather than the whole Camino at once. So where do you see that?
Well, with that very thing in mind, we've actually made a little plan, and I've talked to the people in Omi, because it'll be travelling across their territory as well as ours. And so we're going to provide a Camino that starts in Roundstone, and it goes from Roundstone to Araslanan, to Ashley, to Westport, and out to Dugort. And it's making considerable use of the Western Way, Atlantic Way, but also the Greenway that now runs, and is absolutely delightful, that runs from Westport out to Achill. And it's a safe place to be walking and all of that on the Greenway. So in the light of the big Camino, we've also decided to make this something that someone could walk. We've worked out that you could, a good walker would walk it happily in 5-6 days with the stop-offs. Or that people could do a piece. They might decide to do a nice short one to start and walk from Roundstone to Araslanan, for instance. And as the Camino does, we intend to sort of give everybody a passport stamp at every stop-off point. And that'll be a Sacred Path passport stamp. And at each stop-off point, we will provide people to be there to welcome people on the stop, maybe a little bit of refreshment, and also a little bit of quiet time, and maybe a Celtic blessing or something to bid them off on the next part of their journey.
And as far as pilgrimages are concerned, I mean, we have a wealth of places of pilgrimage in the West. Have you got any one or two particularly in mind?
Yeah, we've got two in mind. Well, that's the Camino one. We also have then to do Ballintuber Abbey and out to Toherpatrick from the hillside rather than the Kirkpatrick side, which is very steep for a lot of people.
A little bit easier.
Yeah. So that's what we intend to do. From the Toherpatrick that goes from the Abbey to the sort of hill is 22 kilometres, so it's a manageable walk, and it's not as severe. But also there are natural stopping points along it that have been put in by previous walkers and people and whatever. So we can tie in with that. And you can book a group on for a day. I've researched this, and you can book people on for a day, and you just check in at Ballintuber and you check out afterwards that they're all down off the hill.
Okay, we're talking about the actual centre of this spiritual pathway. The hall you mentioned, what sort of facilities do you envisage being there?
Well, the hall is a very typical old school room, one long narrow room. It has a kitchen off it, and which is in need of a little bit of modernisation, which the plan is to do. And it has toilet facilities off it as well. in the backyard. It doesn't have a huge big garden, but it is surrounded in absolutely beautiful
Yes,
fuchsias and
three moors
rhododendrons
right
and
out the
things.
back.
And the mountain is sitting right
Yeah.
behind it. It's about 300 metres thereabouts of walk. You're on the beach, literally on the beach, so it's beautiful.
Yeah.
And there are nice walks around. They're in the backyard, if you like, of the centre, which we're clearing to make a nice space, and it's going to be landscaped. We're very fortunate that we have some very specialised gardeners in our community, and Willem is going to landscape it. We're also putting a labyrinth.
Oh,
We're
yes.
going to use the old stones. The wall that's there needs to be replaced. A little bit unsafe at being at the foot of a mountain, and it's being replaced and creating a bigger space. And I'm planning to use the stones from the old wall, which are very old, to lay out a labyrinth, which will be there for people to meditate on or pray on or just walk quietly or whatever. And that'll be part of the facilities that are available.
So the hall will be there as a place where people could retreat to, sort of a place where they could do their retreat. If they were coming to Achill Island, it's quite a distance from anywhere really. Have you any provision for accommodation, for example, if anyone wants to stay overnight?
We have provision in that there will be 2 rooms available in the house that's attached to the hall, and that's a little house in its own entity with its own sitting room, bathroom, and kitchen as well. When people come for a day, we will be providing, a lunch and or a dinner as that goes on, and we have already organised a cook to help us with that. The plan is also to do outdoor meditation as well as indoor meditation. So we've been talking to a local bus company, and there'll be the possibility of a minibuses to take us to various places around the island, like for instance the Atlantic Drive, which is a wonderful place to go and be quiet on. So that will be very much part of it. There will also be a possibility in the hall, and what I really would be hoping to do is that if people are coming or they let us know in advance that they're going to visit Achill, maybe to go fishing, maybe to go water sports, of which there's a huge amount, or doing other walks, that there'll be a presence in the hall. And I will try to be there. I'll have my wee office over there, and so that if people call in, there'll be a welcome at the hearth.
Oh, sort of a drop-in centre there.
There'll always be a cup of tea and a sit down, and there'll be some literature. There'll be a wee library of books, and there'll be a tiny little shop with a certain amount of things in it that go link with what we're doing.
And of course, there's plenty of B&Bs in the area.
Loads of B&Bs on the island, absolutely. The programme of Sacred Path will run mostly from mid-September to the end of May each year, because June, July and August, and this year really showed it there, is chocker and not really conducive to quiet time. And even for people doing the walks, and we were just talking about that too, for the Camino walk, we'll do the big Camino walk, one in September, one in May.
The whole way from Roundstone to Achill?
One of each, because for a good bit of the Connemara bit of it, people have to walk on the road, and there's just too much traffic in June, July, August.
Sure.
So we'll do it at the quieter times.
And tell me, how is this fitting into what one might describe as normal parish life?
Well, normal parish that's on the doorstep of this, in that sense, has actually taken on, it's a very small parish with a small number of people, particularly in the winter, a lot of visitors in the summer, has had a whole new lease of life. They're really getting behind this.
Excellent.
And I would say, from having met my church warden on the occasional times on Sundays, I am now sort of having daily phone calls with him.
Very good.
While we're planning, and from the what colour we're going to put on the walls to where we'd have this and where we'd have that, and how the parish can work with this.
So this new venture has actually in some ways reinvigorated the parish?
Oh, very much so.
Oh, that's good.
Very much so.
2 birds with 1 stone.
Yeah, very much so.
So you say your first go with this is going to be in...
My first go with this is actually slightly before it opens, but it's not being done in the centre because our very first 2-day retreat is booked in for 3 weeks' time.
Very good.
And there's a group coming from America, from a Congregationalist church, who have booked to do a 5-day retreat in May. And as part of that 5-day retreat, they're also going to do the Camino run, but by bus.
Right.
So we get it
right.
all in one day.
They're taking the soft
Yeah,
option.
so we're doing it by day, which is also
Well,
that
that's
maybe
nice.
that's
Yes.
something we can offer.
If it works
Is to
for
do it
people.
by coached
Yeah.
or in a day
If it
with the
works.
stops, yeah.
Excellent.
So yeah, so that'll happen, and the classes in the Celtic spirituality, the meditation and possibly the Taizé are all going to start from January. Building finished provided, but it should be,
Very good.
yeah.
Well, listen, that all sounds excellent and very exciting and something new and fresh and yet based on something very old and traditional. And I hope it all goes well and we wish you all the best. And thank you very much for your time.
That's exciting, thank you.